In the summer of 2022, one name reportedly generated more global Google searches than COVID-19, and even the President of the United States. He had no record label, film studio, broadcaster or publicist arranging magazine covers and politely calling journalists. Yet almost overnight, he was everywhere. Different accounts, different edits. The same man appearing on millions of screens, whether anyone had searched for him or not. Conventional fame usually has a ladder, agents, gatekeepers, and years of carefully managed exposure. This man appeared to have skipped it. So how did Andrew Tate become one of the internet's most influential and controversial figures? To answer that, we need to look beyond the man on the screen and examine the machinery that put him there. Emory Andrew Tate III was born in Washington, D.C. in 1986. Not in a gym or a fight camp, and despite what the later branding might suggest, not in the passenger seat of a Bugatti. He grew up in a military household, dominated by the presence of his father, Emory Tate Jr., an international master in chess and six-time Indiana state champion. On the chessboard, Emory Jr. was known for an aggressive style, which was almost reckless, sacrificing pieces, attacking early, and treating the board as something to be dominated rather than a puzzle to be solved. He also served for more than a decade in the United States Air Force Intelligence, but was officially discharged following a diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder. In his videos, Andrew Tate talks about his father like a deity, but it seems less like a healthy admiration and more as if he internalized his father's documented faults as a literal instruction manual for how to be a man. Andrew would later use a chess knight as his logo. Perhaps it was simply a nod to his dad, but it also suited the philosophy he would sell. Think several moves ahead, move aggressively, prioritize strategy over feeling, and never forget that every other piece on the board is a pawn to be used to your advantage. That philosophy should not be reduced to a diagnosis or inherited psychology. Children do not examine their upbringing clinically. They absorb it. It becomes the weather. In 1997, the weather changed. Tate's parents divorced, and his mother moved the children from military-based life in America to the Marsh Farm Council estate in Luton, England. It was a change of country, class, and social code, all arriving at once, with British weather included at no extra charge. Former schoolmates have described Tate as quiet, socially awkward, and teased for his American accent. The voice that would later fill millions of phones was, at the time, making him a target. In his own telling, he responded by fighting, rebelling, and appointing himself the man of the house, a significant promotion for someone who had not yet finished secondary school. The hardship appears to have been genuinely formative, but it also became one of his most effective sales tools. Most rags to riches stories say, "I struggled, so I understand you." Tate's version says, "I struggled, so what is your excuse?" Economic conditions disappear. If you are poor, lonely, or unsuccessful, the problem is not the world around you, the problem is you. Not an argument most economists would find rigorous, but an excellent marketing funnel. Shame creates discomfort, and discomfort wants relief. Conveniently, relief would later be available by monthly subscription. In 2005, Tate began kickboxing, and he was genuinely good. He fought professionally while working a day job in television advertising, which is either irrelevant or the universe being painfully obvious. Across the following decade, he won 4 world titles under different sanctioning bodies. Those belts gave him something no marketing campaign could manufacture: credibility inside the hypermasculine value system he would later sell. A rented sports car can be returned. A championship record cannot. But Tate also discovered that being a world champion in a niche combat sport did not guarantee fame or wealth. Being repeatedly kicked in the head, it turns out, was a rather disappointing pension plan. Tate eventually finds himself on kickboxing forums, quickly learning that careful fight analysis attracted only a handful of replies. Provocation, on the other hand, made the page combust. Same author, same platform, very different numbers. It was a small experiment in the economics of attention. Expertise earned respect, outrage earned traffic. Winning a fight paid modestly, starting one paid better. He realized that attention, regardless if positive or negative, was a currency that he could convert to cash. The realization about the value of psychological manipulation directly birthed his first major business venture, the Webcam business, in early 2014, whilst he was still a professional kickboxer. In 2016, Tate entered the UK edition of Big Brother. He lasted a mere 6 days. The publicly stated reason for his removal was a tabloid video that appeared to show him striking a woman with a belt. Both Tate and the woman said the encounter was consensual. Subsequent reporting said the broadcaster had also learned of a Hertfordshire police investigation connected to allegations involving Tate's Webcam business. That investigation closed in 2019 without charges at that time. Tate denied wrongdoing. Under the old rules of fame, 6 days on television followed by scandal was a dead end. Broadcasters closed the door, and the audience moved on to the next contestant arguing beside a swimming pool. The internet worked differently. Television saw a liability. Online, controversy became a search term.
I was like, I've got like 8 girlfriends. So I messaged all 5 of my girlfriends, told them I had a job for them, explained to them what I was going to do. I was going to launch this company. 4 of them agreed. All 4 flew in, sat around the same table. They're all like, who's she, who's she, who's she? I'm like, well, you're all my girlfriends. 2 more left. And then 2 stayed. And that was the beginning of my little attempt at a webcam empire. They'd do their hours. They'd have their regular customers. They'd get their money. And then I'd take around half of the money.
In 2017, Andrew and Tristan Tate moved their residence and business operation to Romania. Andrew offered an explanation in a video he later deleted. He said 40% of the reason was that Romania's rape laws were, in his words, more lenient. He also praised what he described as accessible corruption. That recording is not proof of a crime. It is his own published description of what attracted him to the country. Tate's position is that he performs a comedic character and that his remarks are routinely stripped of context.
Chop it up, put it all over social media, accompanied with my massive fame, then things can absolutely not be taken out of context.
That defense matters. So does the recording. By then, the question was no longer simply how Tate attracted attention. It was how he could turn attention into a business that operated without him personally handling every customer. The answer began with the webcam operation Andrew and Tristan Tate said they had run together since 2014. By their own account, it involved as many as 75 women and generated roughly £500,000 a month. Their agency, Model Stars, was marketed as an all-female business, helping women escape the 9-to-5, empowerment, independence, and financial freedom, with significantly more lingerie. Tristan Tate later described the webcam business to the British press as a big scam, built around fabricated sob stories. He boasted that customers had sold cars and spent inheritance money on the models. That was not a leak or a prosecutor's allegation. It was one of the operators describing the product on the record. Andrew's archived website went further. He wrote that his particular skill was making women fall in love with him so completely that they would do what he asked. He said that more than half of the women who had worked for him were his girlfriends, and that none had worked in adult entertainment before meeting him. He described a deliberate dating process intended to deepen their attachment until they agreed to join the studio. Anti-trafficking specialists have a name for this behavioural pattern. It's called the Loverboy Method, also known as Romeo pimping. It is not itself a criminal charge. It is a framework for understanding alleged coercion that begins not with abduction, but with romance. The pattern was straightforward. Identify women who are emotionally and financially vulnerable. Overwhelm the person with affection, attention, and gifts. Create dependency. Then leverage the relationship into sex work, framing it as a sacrifice for the two of you. The final steps? Isolate her from outside support. Then take total control of the income. Intermittent affection and degradation can keep the victim trying to recover the loving version of the same person causing the distress. It helps answer the question so often asked from the safety of the outside. Why didn't she leave? Because the system is not designed to feel like a prison. It is designed to feel like love. Romanian prosecutors allege that women inside the Tate operation faced long streaming schedules, financial penalties, controlled housing, and pressure to surrender income. Material gathered by prosecutors includes a translated conversation in which Andrew Tate allegedly discussed underpaying a model and blaming the exchange rate. Whatever the legal interpretation, the commercial limitation was obvious. This kind of manipulation is artisanal. It requires time, memory, and individual attention. It is a bespoke service with terrible unit economics. Grooming is manual labor. It takes hours per person. It requires you to be present, typing, remembering, calibrating. You can run one studio, maybe 3. You cannot run 3,000. To build something global, the psychology had to become a product, standardized, repeatable, and deliverable without Tate in the room. In 2021, that product launched. Hustlers University was hosted on Discord and cost $49.99 a month. It promised an alternative education in crypto trading, copywriting, e-commerce, and dropshipping. It had everything you might expect from a university, provided your university had no campus, no library, and a faculty unusually interested in Lamborghinis. Tens of thousands enrolled. Some reported estimates placed peak membership much higher. But the crucial mechanism was the affiliate program. Members could earn a reported 48% recurring commission for each new subscriber. That turned customers into salespeople. They were encouraged to mine long-form Tate interviews for inflammatory moments, convert them into vertical clips, add bold subtitles, post from new accounts, and place affiliate links in their profiles. Arguments in the comments were useful because arguments created engagement. This was not ordinary affiliate marketing. A mattress code tries to persuade you that the mattress is good. Tate's system rewarded participants for making him impossible to ignore. Agreement was optional. Outrage worked just as well, and often travelled further. And if an account gets banned for hate speech, immediately make 5 more. The network solved 2 problems. It reduced the need to buy conventional advertising, and it made moderation difficult. Platforms were not confronting one official account, but thousands of disposable accounts, each operated by someone with a financial incentive to replace it. The apparent overnight rise was not entirely overnight and not entirely accidental. It was a distribution system. In August 2022, Meta, TikTok, and YouTube removed Tate's official accounts. Meta's action alone affected accounts with more than 4.7 million followers. But the more consequential blow came from Stripe, the payment processor used by Hustlers University. Followers are impressive, but cash flow is oxygen. You cannot pay an affiliate in retweets. 2 months later, the program returned as The Real World, off Discord entirely, off the Apple and Google app stores. A proprietary standalone app on its own servers, answerable to nobody's moderation policy. And the money moved on rails that no bank controlled. Crypto has no compliance department. Where a card network decides a business is too risky, a blockchain simply doesn't care. A deplatformed operation could keep collecting money globally with no central authority able to switch it off. This reduced dependence on conventional card networks, though they did not make the operation immune from exchanges, hosting companies, or regulators. The workaround was sold as ideology and liberation. Traditional finance was now the matrix. A payment processing problem had been rebranded as a philosophy. In November 2024, hacktivists breached the Real World servers, flooded its chat rooms with emojis, and exposed nearly 800,000 usernames and more than 300,000 email addresses. They described the platform's security as hilariously insecure. For a community devoted to escaping the matrix, it had apparently neglected the less glamorous business of cybersecurity. But the real world was never the destination. Above it sat a more expensive tier, the War Room, reportedly costing a one-time entry fee of $8,000, payable exclusively in cryptocurrency. Publicly, it was marketed as a global network for high-achieving men pursuing sovereignty. Its promotional imagery, assault rifles, sports cars, snowmobiles in Norway, made it look like a Bond villain's country club. The BBC later analysed approximately 12,000 pages of leaked Telegram messages from the group. It reported that true operational focus of the War Room was for instructing men on how to systematically groom, isolate, and exploit vulnerable women for online sex work. Members literally called part of the curriculum the PhD, or the Pimping Hose degree. Locate vulnerable women on dating apps, love bomb them, isolate them from friends and family, convince them to start webcam work, and then, the step that never changes, take total control of the finances. It was the Loverboy Method, taught as a syllabus, exported worldwide. The BBC identified 46 women it described as potential victims over 13 months. The brothers deny the allegations concerning the War Room. Bellingcat's reporting also suggested that Tate may not have designed every layer of the organisation attributed to him. Bellingcat's reporting points to a self-described hypnotist in his 60s named Miles Salkin, who operated under the pseudonym Iggy Semawi, identified by a former head of sales for the operation as the actual architect of the War Room structure. In a tweet from 2019, he set out his view plainly, that women exist as assets, to be upgraded by men. Alongside him, Bellingcat identified other figures, the leadership, who were ex-military. Jonathan Bowe, who was a retired United States Air Force major, and Joel Sullivan, a former Australian soldier. Which raises an obvious question. What does a hypnotist and two ex-military men bring to an internet marketing group? The answer is specific, and it isn't marketing. Military figures understand hierarchy, discipline, and cult-like isolation. Members were subjected to sleep deprivation, reframed as hustle culture. They were instructed to cut ties with their own families to guarantee loyalty upward. The result was a closed information loop, engineered to dismantle a person's entire external support system. These men formed the core leadership of the War Room, which had around 433 members at its peak. The belts, cigars, sunglasses, and supercars were not the empire. They were the packaging, instantly recognizable, endlessly quotable, and almost impossible to encounter without forming an opinion. Tate may not have designed every component, but he was an exceptionally effective frontman. So back to our initial question. How did Tate become so unavoidable? In April 2024, researchers at Dublin City University's Anti-Bullying Centre began an experiment with 10 blank smartphones. They created new accounts simulating 16 and 18-year-old boys. Half actively explored manosphere content. The other half looked for ordinary material like gaming, football, and gym advice, the standard teenage boy starter pack. This is known as a cold start. The platform has almost no history, so it tests material rapidly to discover what makes the user pause. Essentially, the algorithm begins speed dating your nervous system. Across the study, male-identified accounts encountered masculinist, anti-feminist, or extreme material within minutes. In the fastest reported case, a generic YouTube Shorts account received extreme content in under 2 minutes. The important detail is not simply the speed, it is that the generic account never asked for this content in the first place. A separate study by University College London and the University of Kent found recommended misogynistic material rising from 13% to 56% over 5 days on archetypal TikTok accounts. We often describe the algorithm as a mirror. It learns who you are and reflects your interests back to you. The research suggests something more active, more like an escalator. You step on because you watched fitness or dating advice. The system tests increasingly provocative versions while measuring whether you remain. Confidence becomes dominance. Dating advice becomes resentment. Self-improvement becomes a worldview in which somebody else must be blamed. The outcome does not require an engineer to write "radicalize young men" into the code. Recommendation systems optimize measurable behavior: watch time, completion, replay, and the fraction of a second before the next swipe. If you stop because you agree, the system records attention. If you stop because you are appalled, it still records attention. Your emotional response may be outrage, but to the dashboard, you are just an excellent viewer. The algorithm cannot tell whether you pulled your car over to look at beautiful, serene sunset or a horrific 5-car pileup. All it measures is how long your foot remained on the brake. It measures hover time. If you could not look away from the crash, the conclusion is logical. You like crashes. It will show you 10 more. Algorithms do not have morals. They have metrics. Now put the incentives side by side. Platforms rewarded short, provocative material that generated comments. Tate's affiliates were told to produce short, provocative clips and start arguments. Platforms rewarded volume. The network supplied thousands of accounts. Tate did not defeat the algorithm. He read the menu and delivered everything the house recommended. That is why the bans could remove official accounts without removing the phenomenon. According to the Centre for Countering Digital Hate, thousands of inauthentic accounts promoted Tate through coordinated hashtags. Other reporting describes supporters being directed through Discord and Telegram to swarm critics. When platforms altered filters, uploaders could change captions, color grading, or audio. The Hydra had learned basic video editing. After the bans, the Centre for Countering Digital Hate found 100 YouTube videos featuring Tate with almost 54 million combined views. Automated advertising reportedly continued beside some of them. His reinstated account on X later grew substantially, including after his arrest in Romania. The bans mattered, but they also became part of the brand. Every removal could be presented as evidence that powerful institutions feared him. In a sealed belief system, criticism does not weaken the leader, it proves the conspiracy. The platforms had shown they could remove a man. They had not shown they could stop a financially motivated distribution network, which left the problem to an older institution, one whose terms of service are considerably harder to scroll past: the law. The next stage of this story would not be fought in comment sections or recommendation feeds, but through police raids, courtrooms, and competing legal systems across 3 continents. In this video, we examined how the algorithm helped build one of the digital age's most formidable internet empires. In the next, we'll examine what happened when the law finally tried to catch up. If you found this video interesting, please consider leaving a like, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with someone who might enjoy it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.